In today's video, we're going to be looking at lunar tides in the color Amethyst Purple. So I have my swatches labeled 1 through 12, but that is not synonymous with hair levels. I do pictures and clips near the end of the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. These are human hair swatches, but the only one that's going to be virgin hair is the number 4 black swatch. The rest have been bleached or chemically dyed at some point in their existence. 1 is green. Whenever I do purple and green dyes, I always get requests to do green swatches, so that is why I chose a green. 2 is gray, 3 is natural red, 4 is black, and then from 4 to 11, we have a range that goes to platinum blonde, and then number 12 is like a toned version of number 11. So to start, I'll be taking the dye directly out of the container, and it'll be going on the top of each swatch. And then some people do like to dilute their dyes, so I'll be doing a diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Please keep in mind, everyone's hair is different, so of course everyone's hair will take dye differently. Also, different monitors and screens can make colors look different, especially undertones, I've noticed. So just use my video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you. For the diluted section, we're going to be doing a 2-to-1 ratio. This time it is 2 parts of amethyst to 1 part diluter. This color is pretty pastel considering, so there's less diluter this time than dye. Usually it's the other way around. And also, if you're not sure what diluter is, a simple answer is that it's something that just kind of lightens the color of the dye, essentially. That's the easy answer. And if you're wondering what I use, I always just use the same plain white conditioner for diluting. Alright, I'm going to let these sit for about 3 hours. I will then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I'll meet you back here and we'll do some comparisons. So when I was looking at number 1 after I rinsed it out, I did notice that it kind of had like a blue sheen to it. Now looking at 11 and 12, this does seem like a slightly more cool tone purple. It's not super duper cool toned, but I'm not sure if it's the slightly more cool toned undertones in this purple that made the green look slightly blue. But it could also be a lighting thing, so I guess we'll see when I do the close-ups in natural lighting if you can see any of that blue that I was talking about. 2 definitely looks a lot more cool toned than the 11 and 12. So much so that it still almost looks kind of gray, just with like a purple tone. I do see a slight difference on the direct dye portion for number 3, but it still looks like a natural red. Definitely not purple. Number 4 didn't take any dye, of course. And then 5 through 7 pretty much looks the same as before. There might be a slight difference in the before and afters, but I don't know if you'd really be able to tell on yourself, like if you use this. And also if you have virgin hair, it probably won't stay, even if you do see a difference. And kind of the same note for number 8, I can see more of a difference on the top than I do for these ones. But if you have virgin hair, I have a feeling that this color really wouldn't stick to your hair and make it a little bit more muted, kind of like it does on the top. Especially pastels have a really hard time sticking to virgin hair. And then 9 and 10 is interesting because you can see the purple in the hair for sure on both the direct dye and the diluted section, but it looks very muted and soft, not very saturated like it does on the 11 and 12. So I would almost say that this could be a good color for toning your hair. If you're just trying to get some of the yellows out, it could be good for that based off of how it turned out on these swatches. But of course, my favorite is number 11. It definitely looks the most intentional and saturated on number 11. 12 isn't bad, but for some reason the number 11 swatch, the Platinum Blonde, just looks a lot brighter and more colorful, I guess. So overall, beware if you have virgin hair. This is a pretty pastel dye, so it might not absorb into your hair very well. But I did want to jump right into the comparisons, and I figured we'd just start with Arctic Fox in Girls Night. Now normally I'll do a comparison for the top like 3 or 4 swatches, but a little while ago I did a mix video for Arctic Fox where I mixed together Purple Rain and Girls Night, and to make it more convenient I just did one whole swatch with Girls Night instead of using the swatches with the diluted sections. And I figured it might be easier if I just compare that swatch with like all Girls Night, no diluted section on it. So that's comparable to number 11. I will say when I did Girls Night on my channel previously, it did turn out a little bit more pinky purple than the swatch I have here now, which of course, like I said, everyone's hair is different. Everyone's hair will take dye differently. So be warned that if your hair does tend to take pink really well, this could turn out slightly more pink looking than it might on my video. As for these two, Girls Night still to me looks slightly more pinky purple. Not a ton, but I do see it there compared to the Amethyst. The Amethyst runs slightly more cool toned, and it's also slightly darker, so I feel like that combination could be why it took so well to the blonde. I've heard mixed reviews for Girls Night where some people can get it to be super intense and saturated on their hair, and then other people it won't even dye. And I feel like even on this swatch that I did here, on the ends where it was probably more porous, it did take a little bit better than near the top, even though this whole thing has no diluter at all. But that is why I did the video with Purple Rain where I mix them together, because if you are that person who has problems with Girls Night, you could add just a little bit of Purple Rain to help. But yeah, obviously both are pastel purples. Girls Night just seems to lean slightly more pink and a little bit lighter. The other comparison I wanted to do was the Directions dye in the color Lavender. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, and number 10. So you can see now especially just how cool toned the Amethyst is. The Lavender clearly leans a lot more pinky purple. Now the Lavender from Directions did take pretty well, but it doesn't look quite as consistent as the Amethyst. And again, I'm wondering if that is because of the pinky purple tones versus the cooler tones on the blonde hair. And I actually feel like personally, I think the Directions Lavender looks a little bit more consistent on the tone swatch. You can tell it still has that pinky purple look. It's not quite as pink as this one looks, but in person it looks a little bit more consistent. But if you are someone who has really porous hair or takes dye, you know, just really well, then you probably won't have a problem with these pinky purples. But for anyone who might have issues with taking more pastels, to me so far it seems like the Amethyst does a little bit better of a job. If we were putting them in order, Lavender would be the most pink, Girls Night would be right in the middle, and Amethyst would be the most cool toned that I've done so far. So now I'd like to get into the before and after swatches. Those, as well as anything at the end of the video, will all be done in natural lighting. Recreating the exact same environment on different days can be a little bit difficult when using natural lighting, so if anything looks slightly different or off, that's why. I hope this video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out. Just remember, I only do dyes that do not test on animals. Thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.